Hi, everyone. How you doing? This is Anthony Cosenza with SB Nation, CincyJungle.com, and the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast. We're coming to you at a little bit of a different time because we have a very special guest and a very special interview that we are very excited about, and we are very excited to have the incomparable Anthony Munoz, Hall of Fame offensive tackle, with our program. Mr. Munoz, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you carving out the time. I know you're a very busy man, and especially over these next couple of weeks, you are also the color analyst on the TV broadcast, if I remember correctly. So I know they've got their first game on Thursday. So I'm going to kind of start back a little earlier in time in terms of my questions, and then kind of lead up to training camp, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Your thoughts on Marvin Lewis's return, because I think a lot of fans, as the off season got here, two straight losing seasons, fans were kind of disenchanted with Marvin Lewis. The team did start strong, and instead of making a change at head coach, they kind of made changes elsewhere. So your thoughts on Lewis returning, and if that's an overall positive for the Bengals as we head into 2018.
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that. First of all, I think a lot of us were surprised. I think after 15 years, they had a nice run, and like you said, the last 2 years weren't what the previous 5 or 6 were. So I think a lot of fans were surprised that he was re-signed, but then again, they did finish strong, 2 wins at the end of the season. They looked really, looked extremely good. So it was a surprise, but I think when coach has been around, it's one of those things you want to change and start all over again. I think the Brown family just said, you know what, they finished strong, so why mess? Let's just keep the head guy. But, you did mention the 6 new assistant coaches. I think that's where a lot of the excitement I know for myself is. I've been at camp the last couple of days. Of course, everybody's always asking me about the offensive line because that is the area that struggled the last several years. And, Austin is a D coordinator, but I think Frank Pollock as the new offensive line coach is what really has been exciting. I had a chance to go watch the last OTA practice, the drills that they're doing, more aggressive, using their hands, punching. And then I've been at camp the last 2 days, and I think that's an area where I'm really excited because we have some unbelievable skilled position players. So I think if we get that offensive line going in the right direction, I think it is heading in the right direction.
So you mentioned the assistant coaches. Obviously, Terrell Austin is now the defensive coordinator. Frank Pollock's kind of been the big name in terms of true change. You mentioned you went to an OTA practice. Now some vibes out of training camp have been overall positive, I guess. Are you sensing that the changes? Marvin's still there. Are you sensing that maybe the changes that are needed overall in terms of the team to get back to the playoffs and through the playoffs are going to occur because of guys like Pollock and Austin and Paul? Paul Alexander probably very well from his extensive time with the Bengals. So, are you sensing a real big change, at least from this spring and summer, at those various spots?
I am. I'm one that comes from a different angle as far as coaches. I think a head coach is only as good as assistant coaches. You look at all the coaches that have been successful, your Bill Walsh's, your Bill Belichick's, and, those type of guys, and you look at their assistants, and all they talk about are the coaching trees. All the guys that leave from being assistants to becoming head coaches. And, you have to be fair and give the assistants their due because they're the guys that develop guys. The head coach oversees things. He runs the show, but it's the assistant coaches that really develop the individual position guys. So for me to say, it was a surprise to have Marvin, but the thing that should be exciting is now you have 6 new assistant coaches. You get on the ball after we lost, Zim as the head coach of the Vikings. I don't think things were as aggressive as they were with, after Zim left. Now you have Austin. The word is, he's a smart guy, very aggressive in what he does defensively, and that's what we got used to here with the Bengals defense, was aggressive, get after it, come after you. And I think the same thing holds true for the offensive line. I think that's one of the things we've lacked is the aggressiveness, attacking people, being violent with your hands. And that's what Frank Pollock brings. That's what he had in Dallas. And, he had some pretty good players in Dallas, but that's what he teaches. You look at kind of the offensive line, his mentor, Bill Callahan, with the Redskins, he does a lot of that. And Bill Callahan was kind of a Jim McNally, understudy, and a guy that I played for, Jim McNally, and that's what Pollock brings. So yeah, I believe the new assistant coaches that Marvin has is going to be a big difference. And I've gotten to know Frank, I've seen him work, and that's what excites me. And I think again, I didn't know a whole lot about Cordy Glenn in Buffalo, but I hear he's very talented. I like what we have in the middle now with Billy Price in center. I know we've been having some struggles with the exchange here at camp. That will be, really ironed out. But I think the guard position is very strong, not only with the two guys up front, but then the two guys that are probably vying for the team. And then I guess the tackles are the big question. You have a couple guys that were drafted 1 and 2, 4 years ago with Fisher and Abuehi, but then you bring Bobby Hart over from the Jets from Florida State, 4-year gap. So I think out of all that, all those guys we have, I think I'm waiting to see what happens here in the development of those young guys. So yeah, I'm a firm believer that, again, I'll say it again, a head coach to me, in my humble opinion, is only as good as his assistant coaches. And my 13 years here, I had 2 head coaches, Forrest Gregg and Sam Weiss, and we had some amazing assistant coaches. Guys that really took guys to another level once they got them on this level.
Talking with Anthony Munoz, Hall of Fame, Bengals offensive tackle. This is the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast. Appreciate the time, Mr. Munoz. We'll talk a tiny bit more about the offensive line in just a second, but I kind of alluded to the fact that some of the news out of Bengals camp has been pretty positive, and it seems as if the offense has, and part of that is the offensive line, like I said, but I think part of that is there seems to, you kind of touched on the fact there's an increase of availability and talent at the skill positions and whatnot. Are you buying into, because the Bengals just recently let go of Brandon LaFell, are you buying into the talent of the young guys as they try and take the next step in 2018? And are you buying into kind of this positive hype so far that we've been hearing about the team in training camp?
Well, I think the positive hype comes from the guys that are producing in camp. I think when you see guys like Cody Core and Josh Malone and, Alex Erickson and Tyler Boy, you see that they're very talented, and I think it is going to be time that they step up. But an unknown commodity is out there, and then it's John Ross. I mean, the guy came in, a 4-2 guy, so hopefully he can stay healthy. Tyler Eifert, hopefully they re-sign him. Hopefully they can, he can stay healthy. So I'm excited because of what they've been doing in camp. It's not like, okay, there's positive hype, but we haven't seen what they're doing. And of course, game situations are totally different. I totally understand that. Anytime you have that number of young guys, again, it's a business move, but it goes down after a lot of years. When you have 4 or 5 guys like that hopefully will fill that spot or two across from AJ Green, there's going to be some excitement, and I think it's warranted. It's justified when you have those type of guys, and so I'm excited about that. But again, you can have Johnny Unitas at quarterback and Jim Brown at running back, but if you don't have those 5 guys up front, just ask Archie Manning. A lot of you people don't realize that Archie Manning, the number 1 pick of that family. Of course, Peyton is the guy, and then Eli. But just ask Archie Manning, again, as talented as any quarterback when he was playing, but he was running around with the cast on his arm and didn't have an offensive line. The same thing as Barry Sanders. I mean, he did what he did without a great offensive line. So I had a chance to talk to these guys yesterday and just kind of said, hey, we're big fans still. We're supporting you, but it starts and ends up front. And I said, you have a lot of, just exactly what we're talking about. You have a lot of talented perimeter guys, quarterback, running backs, but we all know that it starts and it ends with you guys up front. It's time for you guys to dominate and set the tone and, defense and offensive line. So that's what excites me, because we do have some guys up there, and we have a coach now that, you see them work, and they're working every time, every minute they're out there, very little rest, and that tells me he's excited about what he's teaching, and these guys are buying into it.
So, Anthony, you mentioned earlier that Bobby Hart has kind of he's kind of taken the lead a little bit at the right tackle spot, and as the Bengals recently released their first depth chart, he's the starter at right tackle. And I think many people thought either Jake Fisher and or Cedric Abwehi would kind of either mix and match or spot, and that hasn't seemed to happen. Are you surprised by that? And personally, I'm not, because I saw the Bengals go after Hart pretty early this offseason. And, I think he's a guy that has positional flexibility, which they like. But I thought they would give maybe a little bit of preferential treatment to those high picks. And it sounds like Hart is, at least for now, winning that battle. Are you surprised by that?
Well, you mentioned they went after him early in the offseason, but it did surprise me because of what the two tackles have not done in their 3 years here. So, no, it doesn't surprise me. But it is a little surprising. Again, with the way camps are run now, I mean, it's tough for me to watch and to see an offensive lineman really step up and say, okay, this is a clear-cut starter. Billy Price, a different story because he's the number one, Bodine is gone. So it's like rare you just put a rookie in there and say, okay, it's your job. So you have to earn it. But the way practice run, I mean, there's not a lot of contact. It's hard for me, and I think it's hard to evaluate linemen because they're just at full speed. You can see things like in the past, so you have to wait. So it doesn't surprise me that Bobby Hart's in there. I'm hoping that, the Jake Fisher way he step up with new technique they're getting taught and what they're, how they're being worked. Still early. I mean, we haven't played the preseason game yet. There's still a lot of time. And I'm sure those two young guys, Wade and really, they're all three young guys. I mean, Hart's a 4-year guy just like the other two. So it's not like, he's a, 8-9-year veteran. So he's still a young guy. But, after 2-3 preseason games, I think you could tell more after that, see what happens the third preseason game when, that's the game where the starters and the guys are going to play a lot more. So for me, as far as when I look at guys evaluate, it takes a little longer because you can't go to camp and see the old one-on-one full speed. You can't see the 9-on-7 run full speed. It's not a full speed practice anymore at camp. So I think it's hard to evaluate.
Yeah, and speaking of preseason, and the Bengals play this Thursday night for the first time in 2018. Aside from obviously no injuries, right? What are some of the things that you are looking for, and or some of the players that you might be keeping a close eye on in that first game? I mean, I know things can get a little sloppy. It's the first time kind of doing some live work against another team, but who are you going to be kind of looking as the Bengals take the field this week?
Well, hopefully physically it's usually a little sloppy. Hopefully mentally it's not, because you've had so much time, going through this stuff. No question about it. Billy Price always looking for the number one guy to see how he does. Malik on the other side, Jefferson, the linebacker from Texas. I think guy that I'm real interested in seeing is Jesse Bates on defense. The big safety, and of course Sam Hubbard, who just continues. You come to the camp and you hear about just his work ethic, his smarts. Of course, you watch him at Ohio State, he was always very consistent. So I'd say on defense, probably those three, the number 2 and 2-3 guys, Jefferson, Hubbard, and Bates. On offense, it's got to be Billy Price. I'm interested. I'm always interested to see the guys behind, like Gio Bernard and Joe Mixon, guys like Mark Walton from here. You watch him out there in Miami, Florida. Big guy, the guy I've always loved to watch and run. And, because you have guys like Jim Shield before, now Giovanni Bernard, Joe Mixon. There's Trey Parsons from A&M. I mean, the guy always in preseason just grinds it out. Is very, is a hard runner. So those are guys that, of course, there's linemen that I'll be looking at, the tackle position. But I'm looking at those young guys, especially with, I don't know how I'm playing, and they have Jefferson outside, so I'd like to see. They talk about how he can run, and he's a thumper, and so I'm looking for those young guys, and the older guys aren't going to play a whole lot, so you're watching the young guys to see who steps up.
So, Anthony, my family, truth be told, is from Southern California. My dad is a giant USC fan, and my brother has been a longtime Bengals fan, as have I. They used to joke that my first name, Anthony, was because I was named after you. But I can't let you go without asking a little bit about your thoughts on USC this year. I know they've kind of gone through some transition as well. The Bengals did pick up an SC guy in Matt Barkley, but they've gone through some transition, lost some big time players. Any quick thoughts on how you think SC will be in 2018?
Well, first of all, I really like Clay Helton. I like the job he's doing there. Again, I think he's got some pretty good assistant coaches. I mean, here we're sitting again. They lose a pretty good quarterback, but now you're going to have a quarterback that hasn't either a real young guy or a guy that hasn't gotten a whole lot of playing time. So, you're looking at the most important position on a football team, and you're going to have to start all over. I think for me, it always, the offensive line was the glaring spot last year that needed improvement. I thought, our skill guys were pretty good. I thought the defense was decent. I think we need to have get a couple stud defensive, linebacker and a defensive man. Well, we're going to have skill position. I like the running game. I like the young wide receivers. But once again, we're talking offensive line with the Bengals. I think it's the same thing for USC. I think their offensive line has to step it up.
Yeah.
I was at the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State, and that was the one area where we could not handle them. We had wide receivers running open downfield. If we'd have had time, I think we could have picked them apart. And I felt bad for Darnold because he was getting abused the whole game. So again, as I talk about USC, I want to see that offensive line step up and be more aggressive, and not only on the run but also pass blocking. So I always get excited, regardless of what said about my Trojans. I'm always there. So I've been on the phone this morning. I think there's a couple already trips that my wife and I are planning to a couple games. So I always try to go to one or two a year, and I had a chance to spend some time with Len Smart at Hall of Fame weekend, and so we're always. We get together, we talk about the Hall, but we're talking USC football, and I'm kind of asking about spring practice and how things are going. So, again, I like what Clay Helton's doing. I like his whole approach. I think he understands what USC football is all about. And so I'm excited that for him and for what's going on in the program. I really believe we're over the hump with what we had to work through several years ago and starting to move in the right direction.
Yeah, my dad always said that you and Marcus Allen were his two favorite Trojans to ever play. So,
Wow.
yeah. So you're high up on that list, my friend. Before we get you out of here, I know you do a ton of community work, both in the local Cincinnati area, and I know, living in Southern California, that you do a lot of stuff out in the Inland Empire area, kind of out in this area. We'd love to hear more about that, how our listeners can either donate, get involved, whatever you need for support. We'd love to help you out in that endeavor. So let us know maybe what you guys have been doing and how we can help out.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a passion of mine. I've been doing. I've had a foundation in Cincinnati for 17 years, going on 18. We work from everything from elementary kids mentoring through junior high and high school kids, leadership seminars, scholarships for seniors going to college. You go to MunozFoundation.org. That's our foundation here in Cincinnati. So I do a lot here with about 7 programs. And then the last 7 years, we've been working with the NFL, and that's what we do a lot of in the NFL cities, and that's what takes us to work with the Chargers and now in LA and the Rams. And I continue to do something in my high school, then in Inland Empire, as you mentioned, JT High School. We do character camps where we teach a little football, but we work on character curriculum and teamwork and leadership. And that's more through the league. I have a agency that we do that. We get support from all the NFL teams, but we actually come in and run them for the teams. And then the third bucket, with the expansion going on in the Hall of Fame, the big expansion going on there, we're doing more and more programs around the country. We have part of a Hall of Famer that we do with high school kids. I've been involved with Denius Williams, great defensive back, the pastor, Gerald Green. Gerald Green brought a program to the Hall of Fame. It's called Strong Youth, Strong Community. We've been to the East Coast, the West Coast, everything in between. We're going to do three events down in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Fort Lauderdale in a couple of weeks. Then right there to Northridge and LA, and So, anything that has to do with you trying to really have an impact and give them tools to be successful, you'll find me there, either with my foundation here in Cincinnati, nationally with our agency, with the Hall of Fame. But here nationally, here in Cincinnati, it's MunozFoundation.org. Like I said, I'm right in the office now. We're getting ready for our next event, the next way to raise money to impact young people. So, other than that, just not a whole lot going on.
Well, thank you very much. It's Anthony Munoz, the greatest Bengals player in their team history and greatest offensive tackle in NFL history. And the timing of our interview couldn't have been more perfect with just coming off of Hall of Fame weekend and the Bengals suiting up for their first preseason game. So thank you so much for the time. We'll try and.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I've been sitting there reading and putting my notes together for tomorrow night's Bears-Bengals game. So I'll give a big who day and a big fight on. So I appreciate being on with you, talking about the Bengals and of course the work we do in the community, not only here in Cincinnati but across the country.
Well, it's been our pleasure, and you are open invite anytime you want to come back on the show. We'd love to talk to you again, especially maybe as the season progresses, hopefully in the right way for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Anthony. I appreciate it. I love the name. Let's do it again.
All right. Appreciate it, sir.
Okay.
Bye-bye. That was Anthony Munoz, the Bengals Hall of Fame tackle, on the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast. We had a number of people tuning in live, which is awesome. I know this is kind of right in the middle of the workday or what have you for a number of you folks. So if you were not able to listen to this live, this will be able to be downloaded on all of our channels, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. We'll also be putting it up on cincyjungle.com. Awesome interview. And to be honest with you, I tried not to go too fanboy on the guy, but it's very hard being a Bengals and Trojans guy. It's just like, that's the guy, But anyways, our thanks to Anthony Munoz. Go check out his foundation. Go check out everything they're doing. They do a lot of awesome stuff with the youth throughout the country. And a lot of it is in the greater Cincinnati area. Some of it is in the Southern California area. He mentioned that they do some national work as well. So check that out. Thanks for tuning in. We will be having a podcast tonight, probably at 8 p.m. Eastern, a little earlier, and we'll be ending a little earlier as well. But this interview will be part of that podcast download as well. So enjoy it, check it out, and thanks for tuning in. Our thanks to Mr. Munoz. Take it easy, guys.